There's a quiet trick that happens every time you sit down at a restaurant and open a wine list. You think you're just looking for a drink, but you've actually walked into a psychological trap designed to empty your wallet. You scan the prices. You see a bottle for $110. You immediately think, no way, I'm not a high roller. Then your eyes skip to the bottom, the house red for $38. You hesitate. You don't want to look cheap to your date, and you've got this nagging feeling that the cheapest stuff on the menu is probably just glorified grape juice. Then, like a beacon of common sense, you see the $52 Malbec. It feels safe. It's the middle ground, not the bottom of the barrel, but not a total splurge. But here's the secret. In the restaurant business, that second cheapest bottle is almost always the one with the biggest markup. It's the Goldilocks trap. They know you won't buy the cheapest and you won't buy the most expensive, so they price the one they actually want to sell right in that psychological sweet spot. You walked in wanting to spend $38, you walked out spending $52, feeling like a savvy shopper. You weren't savvy, you were steered. My name is David, and I spent my time looking at the hidden nudges big companies use to keep the average guy broke. Today, we're tearing apart the decoy effect. It's the reason you constantly upgrade yourself into spending more money without a single salesman even opening his mouth. We're going to look at why having 3 options is actually a trap and how to stop being the target. If you're ready to keep more of your paycheck, hit that subscribe button. Today, we're exposing the premium scam. To admit something, we have to admit our brains are actually pretty bad at knowing what things are worth on their own. If I handed you a random car part and asked what it should cost, you'd be guessing. Is it $20 or $200? You have no idea. We only know if something is a good deal by comparing it to the thing sitting right next to it. Marketers call this asymmetric dominance. Here's how they use it against you. If I give you 2 choices, option A, cheap and basic, and option B, expensive and high quality, it's a fair fight. You look at your bank account, you look at your needs, and you pick one. It's a 50-50 split. But then the marketing team drops in option C, the decoy. Option C is designed to be a bad deal compared to the expensive one. For example, if option B is a 2 terabyte hard drive for $100 and option A is a small 500 gigabyte drive for $50, you might just take the cheap one. But if I add option C, a 1 terabyte drive for $95, suddenly that 2 terabyte drive for $100 looks like an incredible steal. You aren't comparing the $100 to your rent money anymore. You're comparing it to the $95 bad deal. The decoy's only job is to make the most expensive choice look like the only logical move. You walked in wanting to spend $38, you walked out spending $52, feeling like a savvy shopper. You weren't savvy, you were steered. Let's move from the restaurant to the gym. This is where the decoy effect starts draining your bank account every single month. Most gyms don't just want you to join, they want you in a membership tier because it's easier to sell you a lifestyle than a workout. Look at a typical 2026 gym price list. The basic, $25 a month. You get the weights, that's it. The plus, $65 a month. Weights, locker room, and the pool. The Ultra, $70 a month. Everything in plus tanning, guest passes, and a free t-shirt. Check out the gap between the Plus and the Ultra. It's only $5. Your brain says, for the price of a burger, I get 5 extra perks. I'd be crazy to pick the $65 plan. And you're right, the $65 plan is a bad deal compared to the $70 one. But the gym doesn't want you to buy the $65 plan. They never did. They priced it specifically to make you feel like a genius for spending $70. They've successfully moved you from a $25 hobby to a $70 commitment. By using a decoy that costs almost as much as the top tier but offers way less, they've tricked you into tripling your monthly bill. Over a year, that's over $500 of value you probably won't even use. Here's where it gets serious. We need to talk about the wealth leak. In the moment, a $5 or $10 value jump feels like nothing. It's just a few bucks, right? But the decoy effect is everywhere. It's in your Netflix bill, your phone plan, your car insurance, and your grocery runs. If you always fall for the better value upgrade, you're likely inflating your daily spending by 20 to 30%. For the average guy, that adds up to about $350 a month in decoy taxes. Money you didn't spend because you needed the extra stuff, but because the deal was too good to pass up. Let's do the math. If you take that $350 a month, the money you'd save by just buying the small or the basic, and you put it into a basic retirement fund starting at age 25, by the time you're 65, those smart upgrades have cost you $1.2 million. You aren't just buying a bigger phone or a better gym tier, you're literally trading your freedom and early retirement for a perceived discount on things you didn't even want when you walked into the store. Every time you see a value pack, stop seeing savings and start seeing someone reaching into your future. This doesn't just happen with coffee and gym memberships. It happens when you buy a house. A smart real estate agent knows all about relative contrast. Imagine you tell your agent your budget is $550,000. They take you to House A. It's $550,000. It's okay, but the kitchen is old and the yard is tiny. You're not sure. Then they take you to House B. It's also $550,000. This is the ugly brother. The roof is falling in, the layout is weird, and the basement smells like wet dog. It is objectively a terrible deal compared to House A. Suddenly, House A looks like a mansion. Your brain stops looking for the leaks in House A because it's so much better than the dumpy house you just saw. Then the agent shows you House C for $585,000. Because your baseline was just reset by that dumpy House B, the $35,000 jump to House C feels much smaller. By showing you a bad version of what you want, they make you comfortable with spending way more than you planned. In 2026, the Decoy has gone digital. Look at your cloud storage. 5 gigabytes, free, the Anchor. 50 gigabytes, $299 a month, the Decoy. 2 terabytes, $999 a month. In today's world, 50 gigabytes is nothing. One long video of your kid's birthday will fill it up. It only exists to make the $999 price for 2 terabytes look like a steal. It's only $7 for 40 times the space. But ask yourself, do you actually have 2 terabytes? Most people have maybe 100 or 200 gigs. You're paying for empty space every month because the middle option was so bad it forced you to overbuy. You're not a power user, you're just a guy who got tricked by a decoy. Why is this so hard to say no to? It comes down to a simple fear of losing out. When we see a medium for $7.50 and a large for $8, our brain doesn't see I'm spending an extra 50 cents. It sees I'm losing a huge bucket of popcorn if I don't spend the 50 cents. We hate leaving money on the table. The big companies have flipped the script. They've made saving money feel like losing a deal. They want you to focus on the price per ounce while you completely ignore the total dollars out the door. But you can't pay your bills with price per ounce savings. You can only pay them with the actual cash you keep in your pocket. How do you break the spell? You have to look at things in a vacuum. Number 1, the isolation test. When you see 3 prices, cover 2 of them with your hand. Look at the most expensive one all by itself. If that was the only choice on Earth, would you pay that much for those features? If the answer is no, then it doesn't matter if it's a better deal than the middle one. A deal on something you don't need is just an extra bill. Number 2, decide enough before you go. The most dangerous place to make a decision is at the cash register. Decide what you need while you're at home in the cold zone. If you decided a 64 gigabyte phone is enough, don't even look at the 256 gigabyte price. The moment you start comparing, you've already lost. Number 3, kill the unit cost fallacy. Stop worrying about the cost per gallon or cost per gigabyte. Start looking at the total dollars out the door. If the large is a better value but you throw half of it away, you didn't save money, you just subsidized the company's profit. It's always better to overpay a little bit for exactly what you need than to get a bargain on a bunch of junk you don't want. The world is designed to make you feel cheap for picking the basic option. They want you to feel like you're missing out, but the only thing you're missing out on is being broke. Real wealth is built by people who aren't afraid to be inefficient shoppers. Be the guy who buys the bad value small coffee because that's all the coffee you actually wanted. Be the guy who buys the base model laptop because you only use it for emails and Netflix. Every time you say no to the upsell, you're winning. You're proving that your life is run by your needs, not by their clever menu. The decoy effect is a tax on people who aren't paying attention. But once you see the ugly brother or the ghost option, the trick stops working. You see the strings. If this video made you realize you've been upselling yourself, I have a challenge for you. This week, every time you're given 3 choices, pick the small, pick the basic, pick the one that doesn't make mathematical sense, but makes total sense for your wallet. Track how much money you save in 7 days just by declining those deals. You'll be shocked at how much the world tries to pick your pocket. We need to stop letting menus run our bank accounts. We need to value our freedom more than we value a deal. If this helped you see the trap, share it with a friend who always buys the biggest size because it's only a little more. Let's help them find their $1.2 million. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.